Evet, öncelikle isim 2022'ye hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk.
Sunum süreniz 15 dakika. Yani 15 dakikayı geçmemeye çalışmanızı rica ediyoruz. Sunumlar sonrasında katılım belgelerinizi mail adreslerinize göndereceğiz. Onun haricinde PDF Express ve telif hakkı sürecini tamamladınız sanırım. Eksikler varsa onları da zamanla tamamlarsınız. Şu an Aynur Ekmekçi online, Elif Özceylan online. Elif Hanım'la başlayalım.
Tabii. Merhabalar.
Merhabalar. Yani Türkçe, İngilizce sunum yapabilirsiniz. Tercih size kalmış.
Tamamdır. Hi everyone. My name is Elif Özceylan. I work as a research assistant, Istanbul Arel University. Today I will talk about our study, the name implementation of socket programming simulation using quantum communication technologies. We did this study cooperation with Cumali Yaşar and Baktül Asanova. And firstly, I want to talk about our presentation plan. Firstly, I talked about what is socket, and then what is API, and the other quantum communication principles like superposition, entanglement, Bell states, JH, Z states, teleportation, superdense coding. And lastly, I talked about our application for classical computer and the quantum computer simulation, both. So firstly, what is socket? It's a communication port on the network that you can name an address. In short, we have an IP address and we have a port number. And these two of them consist of a socket end. Socket software handles a set of protocols. They are independent of the operating system and very useful for both standalone and network applications. Socket programming is generally the networking standard for APIs or TCP/IP or UDP protocols. And all operating systems support socket APIs set as a standard. So then what is API? Actually, API is associated with socket programming. APIs are mechanisms that allow two software components to communicate with each other through specific definitions and protocols. It means application programming interface. The word application in API refers to any software that has a separate function. The interface word can be thought of as a service contract between two applications. So here we saw that quantum communication between client and server via socket APIs or TCP/UDP protocols. So our first principle is in quantum communication technologies, superposition. Superposition is the expression of any state in terms of the substates that make it up. For example, we have an electron, and this electron spins both up and down at the same time. But if you want to observe this, unfortunately, we can observe both up and down position because when we want to observe, the state are collapses. One of the most important features of quantum technologies is that a state that is not in a superposition state can be brought into a superposition state with the Hadamard gate. What does that mean? If we want to put a state in superposition, we have to apply on this state Hadamard gate. It's a kind of quantum gate. So our second principle is entanglement. Think that we have two systems that names A and B, and these two systems are related to each other before, and this relationship continues even A and B are infinitely far apart. For example, I have two photons, and the first photon is near to me, and the other photons 20 kilometers far away. If I make an operation state that next to me, the same operation apply the other photons at the same time. And we have to apply Hadamard and CNOT gates if you want to put in an entangled handle as entangled states, yes. We have 4 Bell states to put into entanglement between 2 states, as we show the right side of page, this. So if we want to put entanglement between triangle states, we have to apply our state, JHZ states. What does that mean? JHZ states are found by Grimberger, Horn, and Zeilinger. They found the formula as we see on the down of the page, and they has earned the Nobel Prize in Physics through the formula that's shown below. So our first quantum protocol is teleportation. Till now, we talked about some principles like entanglement and superposition, and now we have to make communication between client and server using entanglement and superposition. So what is that teleportation? Teleportation is a kind of communication technologies principle protocol, I mean. And we don't have physical channels in teleportation. In teleportation, we have to send 2 classical bits. Sorry, we have to send 2 quantum bits, and we need 1 classical bit to verify, to check our information that's sent. And the use of quantum entanglement in teleportation provides speed and channel security in data transfer. And second protocol is superdense coding. In superdense coding, we have a physical channel, and we have to send 2 bits classical information, and we need a 1 quantum bit to verify it. Firstly, we have to put our states in superposition, and then we have to apply entanglement operations on. Then we are ready to communicate the states between client and server. So at the light of that I talked about before, now I want to talk about our simulation app. We determined this part, classical computer and quantum computer simulation. As we see, we have a function here, and this function take parameters, 2 parameters. The first one is IP address, and the second one is port number. And this bind function, according to use IP address and port number, and consists of this, we can handle a socket end. And the client side code is the similar with server code. We have a socket end here. And lastly, our quantum computer simulation. We use Project Q library to use superposition and entanglement in our project, and main engine. Here we have a message, is quantum is wonderful. And this message is a parameter of send full message function. After we send this message, we can handle it output like this. And our socket end is here. It's the IP address and the port number. And lastly, conclusion part, the use of physical sockets for quantum computers is realized with software technologies. In particular, the use of sockets for key exchange and data communication is one of the most important components of communication. In addition to the development of entanglement-based communication protocols, the power of communication over sockets will increase and data transfer will reach enormous dimensions with the use of quantum internet technologies. Expected to develop communication channels with a much larger capacity instead of communication channels such as FTP, HTTPS, and SMTP used in classical computers. And my presentation is end over. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, I can answer for you.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question? Okay. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Next presentation, dear Trisno.
Yes, I'm here.
You can start.
Sure. All right, thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen already. If not, then this will just improve my presentation. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sutrisno. I'm from Diponegoro University, Department of Mathematics, Semarang, Indonesia. Today, I would like to present some small results about a new decision-making support in the form of piecewise objective fuzzy probabilistic programming for supplier selection problems involving discounted prices and cost and under uncertainty. This is my outline. I will start from motivation and problem, and then I will continue with methodology, mathematical model, some experimental, and summary. So we consider here three parties in a supply chain, namely supplier, manufacturers or retailers, and consumers and buyers. And there is a product or raw material flow here from suppliers until the consumers. And decision makers in manufacturers or retail is trying to have optimal system in order, of course, to make more profit. And they need decision making support, especially when the problem is very large, because it is now not obvious and not trivial to solve the problem and to find the optimal solution for the supply chain. And in this paper, we offer a new decision support for solving supplier selection problems involving price discount and under uncertainty. So here we want to try the optimal volume for each raw material type or product type that will be ordered to its supplier to the manufacturer. And the uncertainty will be treated using both probabilistic and fuzzy under assumption that for probabilistic parameters, the data are available to formulate the probability density of function. And for fuzzy parameters, data or historical data are not available. And this is the problem solving step. We simply just identify the problem first and then building a mathematical model and then treating the uncertain parameters by using probabilistic and fuzzy parameters and then solving the optimization problem using existing algorithms such as generalized resistance gradient and then implementation. And the discount that we use here is just a linear piecewise function. So the bigger amount of the goods we buy, then the cheaper the is that simply. And we use a lot of notations in our model, but I don't have enough time, of course, to introduce all of them. But here I would like to introduce only some of them, namely different variables. So we want to decide the optimal quantity for each product type or brand that should be ordered to each supplier. And there are some probability parameters and there are some fuzzy parameters. Demand here is assumed to be fuzzy. And the discounted price is the unit price for its raw material or product type, and the transportation cost. So it is in a piecewise function. And there are many operational costs we include it in this model. So the first one is order cost for all raw materials or products, and then purchasing cost. It is also in piecewise function because the unit price is piecewise form. And then the transportation cost, penalty cost for late delivered and devices products or materials, then record cost. This is the mathematical function model. So we want to minimize the total operational cost in the problem, subject to some constraints here. The first one is the raw material or product demand satisfying. So the available raw materials or products should satisfy the demand. And then transportation collision interaction capacity limit, and then supplier selection indicator, and then supplier capacity limit, and then positivity and interest. So we considered in our experiment 5 suppliers for product or raw material types, for price break or discount level, and we use the following discount scheme for the unit price of the raw material or product, and then for this is for transportation cost. And the percentage of defect and late delivered products are normally distributed with this mean and standard deviation, and then the demands are fuzzy with this discrete type of membership function. And this shows some product prices under the system system. And the main result is the optimal decision, namely the optimal product volume that should be ordered to each supplier. For example, to supplier 1, we should order for product 1 or raw material type 1 as much as 24 units and so on. So in this simulation, only supplier S1, S3, S4, and S5 were selected to supply the raw materials for products, where S2 was not selected to supply some goods. And this figure shows the request product volume after all of uncertain parameters are revealed. So for example, after the demand is revealed, then we can know whether our available raw materials or products are sufficient to satisfy the demand or not. For example, for product type P1, the available amount is enough to satisfy the demand, but for product P2, the available product is not sufficient, and then we need record product. We can buy another amount of product, or we could just let the demand can, and that of course we could look some profit. So to summarize my presentation in this study, supply selection problems with probabilistic and fuzzy parameters to solve under price discount circumstances, and then based on piecewise optimization model, a decision-making support was proposed here, and then from the results, the proposed model successfully solved the problem. And for future work, the situation which the problems are becoming more complicated can be solved by developing more complicated models, such as including several carrier selection, and then we could also integrating with other parties, such as warehouse systems, and also multi-period model is also interesting to develop. So we can generate the solution for multi-period of time or observation period, and some more complicated discount schemes, such as continuous price discounts, can also be developed. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question? Okay, thanks again. Next
Thank
presentation.
you.
You're welcome. Next presentation, dear Körpe.
Yes.
Deniz Körpe değil mi?
Evet, evet. Ekran paylaşımı şu an ekranım geldi mi acaba?
Hı, ekran geldi.
Tamam. Saniye. Tamam. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Enis Körpe. I am research assistant at Ege University, and I will give a presentation which is about terahertz band vehicular communication. My presentation title is Investigation of Environmental Effects in Terahertz Band Vehicular Communication. Today, I will talk about some topics which is about terahertz band vehicular communication. The presentation will start with the introduction and continue with the vehicular communication, related works, investigation of reflection, scattering, and absorption factors in vehicular communication, and advantages and drawbacks of terahertz waves for vehicular communication we will discuss. And the presentation ends with the conclusion section. Terahertz waves in electromagnetic spectrum, which generally vary in the range and 0.1 from 0.1 to 10 terahertz. These terahertz band limits are not fully determined. Terahertz waves are also named as T waves, T rays, T light, T lux, and terahertz. It is an unexplored bandgap and open to innovations and new research areas. It is less harmful than X-rays because it's not ionized tissues. This is the important property of the terahertz waves. As you can see in the figure wave, the placement of the terahertz gap in the electromagnetic spectrum, which is from 0.1 to 10 terahertz. Terahertz technology supports higher user densities, higher reliability, less delay, and higher coupling directivity because of the shorter wavelengths. The main fundamentals of the terahertz communication: achieving high channel capacities, accommodates a large number of the connected devices. As you know, the number of communication tools increases day by day, and because of the Internet of Things, and the large number of connected devices is increasing day by day. Therefore, a large number of connected device accommodation is very important. And also to enable a ultra high bandwidth, it's the next generation 6G wireless mobile communication. These are the main objectives of the terahertz communication. When it comes to vehicular communication means that this communication allows vehicles to communicate with infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle, and vehicles to device, and vehicles to grid, and vehicles to pedestrians. It allows vehicles to broadcast and receive omnidirectional messages. It also provides valuable information for drivers, and it allows real-time communication between vehicles and infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to grid. Also can use messages from surrounding vehicles to identify potential collision threats. This is very important. Vehicular communication prevents the possible accidents in the traffic. For vehicular communication, today's technology have begun to be insufficient in the rapidly increasing data traffic. Therefore, new technologies are needed to support less latency, higher reliability, and more users. Therefore, terahertz can be candidate technology that can meet these specifications because it provides accommodates a large number of users, provides higher reliability and less latency. Therefore, we can think that terahertz can be a candidate technology. In this paper, we investigate the effects of the environmental factors on the transmission in the different specific terahertz vehicular communication scenarios are investigated. Also, we discuss the opportunities and drawbacks of the terahertz band for vehicular communication. When we analyze the related works in this study, the UTU researchers investigate the drone-assisted vehicular networks. They develop these networks for vehicular communication, and the simulation results show that this network improves the performance of the vehicular networks, because drones increase vehicle-to-vehicle connectivity, network efficiency, and infrastructure coverage. However, they did not research how to allocate drones between infrastructure, and this problem is left for future study. And the second related work, the researchers investigate the impact of interference from the side lanes on terahertz system. In this scenario, they investigate both multipath interference and direct interference from transmitted vehicles in the adjacent lines. And the simulation results show that the two-dimensional stochastic models, interference from the side strips can be accurately predicted. And the third related work is, which is about the vehicular visible light communication. Also, it is named as the optical communication. And the researchers in this study, they propose a machine learning based channel modeling of VVLC. The simulation results show that path loss can be modeled using neural network based algorithms, as you can see the figure 8. And but however, they did not solve the problem, the expansion of ML techniques for VVLC channel modeling, to incorporate additional channel input features like road inclination, weather conditions. They did not study these problems and left for the future study. And the last, which is I am talking about the related work, is the FLASH, which is federated learning for automated selection of high band millimeter wave sectors. And the schematic of these networks in figure, as you can see in the figure 9, in this network, each vehicle is equipped with GPS, LiDAR, and camera, which is produced a flash data set. And in data sets was collected in real autonomous vehicle mounted with these sensors. And in this study, we investigate reflection, scattering, and absorption factors in vehicular communication. We can examine these effects into 3 groups. The first one is the free space path loss. And free space path loss, we define the free space path gain, as you can see in the slide in equation 1. in this equation, HP shows the free space path gain, C is the speed of light, and GT transmitter antenna gain, and GR receiver antenna gain. D shows the transmission distance, and finally F shows the frequency. And the second effect is the molecular absorption loss. This is the main source of fading in terahertz channel. Because when operating frequency is higher than 200 gigahertz, because of water vapor, molecules causes absorption peaks at the resonance frequencies, and it divides the terahertz frequency band into several transmission windows. Therefore, we need to find these transmission windows and vibration-free frequency range, because we cannot use every frequency range because terahertz wave can absorb by water vapor and oxygen. This is the main disadvantage of the terahertz waves. And in equation 2, molecular absorption gain can be defined as in equation 2. And K in this equation, Kf shows absorption coefficient, and D is the transmission distance. Molecular absorption gain depends on the two variables. The first one is the absorption coefficient, and the second one is the transmission distance. And the last effect is the multipath fading. The multipath fading, because of the trees, or buildings, and therefore in the transmitter and receiver, in addition to loss path, also the multipath occurs. Therefore, surfaces which are accepted as smooth in low frequency band become rough in the terahertz band vehicular communication, because the multipath occurs. Therefore, this is the main fading in the terahertz communication. Therefore, we need to find the multipath effects for studying when studying the vehicular communication. This is an important effect for terahertz waves. By making the reflection absorption free space path loss analysis, terahertz wave, we can use the terahertz wave in the following application areas: safe driving, remote service possibility for defective vehicles, learning traffic and accident information on the road. And in the 6G wireless communication, it is considered the place of place modems in street lamps or roadside. We need to find which one is the best for the system performance in terms of system performance. Street lamps or roadsides, we need to find which one is the best for the 6G wireless communication placement in modems or in street lamps or the roadside. And terahertz waves bring so many advantages and some drawbacks vehicular communication. The important advantages is it reduces the Doppler effect, which I will talk about later. And terahertz waves are not affected by weather conditions. It also provides higher data rate and reliability and less latency. As I told you before, terahertz waves absorbed by water vapor and oxygen. Therefore, this is the main drawbacks. In certain frequencies, they can be absorbed by water vapor and oxygen. Let's talk about reducing the Doppler effect. Doppler effect means that sound or radio waves move from the two objects. The wavelength changes, and receive frequency is differs from the transmitted frequency. The main relation as you can see in the equation 3, Doppler shift can be expressed as minus F0 times V divided by C. FT shows Doppler shift, FR is received frequency, F0 is the carrier frequency. We speed of the receiver away from the source. In this study, vehicle speed, to show the vehicle speed, C is the speed of the light. When two objects, one or two objects are moving, received frequency differs from transmitted frequency. This phenomenon is known, called as the Doppler effect. Doppler effect can be a problem for vehicular communication when the speed of the vehicle is higher, becomes higher than 50 km per hour. To reduce Doppler effect, in which there are different mechanisms developed to decrease the Doppler effect. But in terrestrial communication, there is no need to develop these algorithms, techniques, because we use the higher carrier frequencies. The Doppler effect is minimized and is no longer a problem for vehicular communication. This is the so important advantage of terrestrial space for vehicular communication. The second one is terrestrial communication advantage over the optical communication, because optical communication so many advantages, but easily affected by weather conditions. And but there are also some advantages to vehicular communication, easily integrated with vehicle LED lights. Also provides distance-free wide spectrum, higher reliability and security. It provides the secure communication, and there is no electromagnetic interference in optical communication. However, there is a main disadvantages, easily affected by weather conditions like snow, fog, or rain. Optical, because of these effects, optical communication can interrupt. But however, terrestrial communication does not affect by weather conditions. Therefore, terrestrial communication is much more advantageous over the compared to optical communication. As I told you before, there is a disadvantage about the terrestrial space. Because of the water vapor and oxygen, they absorb at certain frequencies. Therefore, when we work about terrestrial space, we need to find the vibration-free frequency range of the material. We need to find this to eliminate the absorption of terrestrial space. In the conclusion section, vehicular communication is very important because of vehicle communicate with each other, infrastructure, grids, internet consumption is increasing day by day. Vehicles are increasing so much. Therefore, we need to find a new technology, provides less latency, higher reliability, and more users capacity, because data traffic is increasing and we will increase in continue. Also, we saw that the Doppler effect and weather conditions can negatively affect the vehicular communication. The present methods, for example, optical communication, it is affected by the weather conditions easily. Therefore, terrestrial space can be a candidate technology to eliminate the Doppler effect and the weather conditions, because we use the higher carrier frequency in terrestrial. We will make this analysis. By making this analysis, we use the terrestrial space for vehicular communication in application areas such as safe driving, accident information learning on the road, and remote service possibility for defective vehicles. Thank you for listening my presentation. Any question I can answer.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question? Okay, thanks again.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You're welcome. Next presentation, dear Oliver.
Okay, thank you. I'm here. Let me
You
share
can
my
start.
screen. All right. Hopefully you all can see my screen. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'd first like to thank the conference organizers and the session chair for all of their feedback and support. My name is DeJarvis Oliver. I am an assistant professor at Georgia Southern University in the United States, and I'm here to present our paper, Sentiment-Based LSTM for Stock Price Prediction, Congress versus General Republic. So briefly, looking at the agenda, I'll go over an introduction, briefly touch on the literature review before getting into the methods, how we collected the data, the evaluation metrics we used, the results, and the conclusion. So stock price prediction has been challenging researchers for decades. However, there's new technology and methods becoming available that are making the case that it can be done. One of the more recent statistical approaches to stock price prediction is time series forecasting, which it provides a hopeful outlook for investors and researchers alike. Specifically, one form of neural network that has been becoming more and more popular is called long short-term memory, which is a recurrent neural network architecture with emphasis on feedback connections. The differentiation in this LSTM comes from one of the inputs, which is sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis being a utilization of unstructured text data to numerically estimate how a group of persons feel about a certain item topic. Sentiment analysis can come from many different media selections, such as social media, news reports, speeches, etc. Sentiment scores the numerical data that is associated with the text. Positive sentiment meaning that a product is well received by the public, whereas a negative sentiment meaning that a product is not well received. And so the purpose of this project really was to utilize the sentiment of one, elected Congress officials, and two, the general public. I won't read all of this in detail, but in conducting our literature review, what we noticed were a few interesting notes. The literature review shows support for the application of AI in banking, specifically how AI can be used to gain a better understanding of behavioral finance. The literature also shows that the stock market prediction and financial sentiment analysis could provide accurate predictions in relation to the stock market. Different forms of media have an influence on the accuracy of prediction, and technical indicators, sentiment analysis, and LTSM can be used to predict stocks. So overall, we did find support for the precision and accuracy of different types of neural networks, LTSM, sentiment, and forecasting and predicting stocks. And thus the study addresses the gap in literature by using LTSM to examine the sentiment of the general public via Twitter and Congress. In terms of methods, the methodology for this project is broken down into 4 major phases as depicted on the figure on this slide. And those phases are summarized as data collection, data preparation, model creation, and model evaluation. In terms of data collection, the first step of the project was to collect the data needed for training and testing the LSTM model. And so the data set consisted of data with a date range from January 1st, 2018 to February 15th, 2022. The data is divided into 2 different sections, which are technical data and sentiment data. In terms of the technical data collection, the technical data from this project was collected through Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance provides historical data in CSV file format based on the stock of choice. For our study, the stocks of choice we selected were Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, with a date range again of January 1st, 2018 to February 15th, 2022. The SOI is a technical indicator that calculates momentum of stock price changes. And what you see here is the formula for calculating the stochastic oscillator index, where C is the current closing price, H is the maximum over the loopback period, and L is the minimum over the loopback period. This was implemented in the project using Excel, using a loopback period of a month. You also see here the Williams index, which is another technical indicator that indicates underlying market strength using the recent highs and lows. And the final technical indicator that was calculated is the relative strength index. This indicates momentum of the stock by the use of averaging the total gains and total losses over the loopback period. The formula for relative strength and relative strength index, relative strength is the average gain divided by the average loss over the loopback period, while relative strength is the relative strength index is an oscillator based upon the relative strength. In terms of sentiment data collection, the sentiment data for this project was collected in two different fashions. The first, using the Twitter API and Python's libraries for Twitter. The Twitter data was collected from the general public and analyzed via the use of VADR, that's Valence Aware Dictionary, and Sentiment Reasoner, Sentiment Analysis Library. The second way to collect the sentiment scores was for the Congress members. And this was based off the trading patterns of the individual Congress members using websites such as HouseStockWatcher.com and SenateStockWatcher.com, which display the stock movement based off Congress members. The data includes representative name, date, type, and amount in 8 different categories. This data is legal to access and use through disclosures-clerk.house.gov, but the websites provide a version of the data by ticker, and this data was then transferred to a CSV format and sorted by date. Data preparation and model creation. The data preparation for this project is through the use of SQL Server data tools to combine the Excel files from the technical analysis and the sentiment analysis into a data warehouse that is stored and accessed through SQL Server Management Studio. The min-max scaling of data was already done through the use of Excel and followed the formula of value minus min divided by max minus min to get a number between 0 and 1 for the normalization of data. The Python model was created using Python 3.3.9 on the PyCharm Community Editor Edition 2021 editor. The interpreter for this project was the virtual environment Python 3.9 interpreter embedded in PyCharm. Data was processed into 0-1 format using max-min scaling, which was done through the max-min scaler function of the sklearn library, and the model was built using the sequential function for Keras. In terms of evaluation metrics, you can see those presented on the slide. This is done through a number of metrics. The metrics are accuracy, precision, mean absolute error, root mean squared error, and symmetric mean absolute percentage error. Accuracy and precision are calculated based off of the following formulas. Accuracy is the value of the true positive plus the value of the true negative over the number of instances. Precision is the number of true positives divided by the number of instances classified as a positive, whether true or false positive. These are methods that are based on calculating the error within the time series neural network. In terms of RMSE, it is the standard deviation of the residuals. This number shows how concentrated the data is around the best fit line of regression analysis. MAE is the average error of the total data set. This is calculated by the absolute value of the observed value minus predicted value divided by the number of observations. This gives a good idea of how far off the data is from each other. And finally, SMAPE is a version of MAPE, which provides a percentage that is easier to compare forecasts for different scales. In terms of the results, as you can see by the figure on the slide, this shows the SQL Server data tools results. You can see the information for the companies or stocks that we selected, the type of sentiment, public via Twitter versus the Congress sentiment, and the corresponding accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 scores. This slide shows the Python model results for NVIDIA, Apple, and Tesla, different stocks. But again, you can also see the sentiment via the Congress and the public, as well as the MAE, RMSE, and SMAPE. So through this study, what did we do and what did we learn? This project taught the importance of sentiment involving the stock market. The models that used the sentiment were more accurate than the models that did not use the sentiment. And specifically, the best model for this project was the public sentiment model that used the general public data from Twitter, future research opportunities and sentiment analysis, and for other business applications could be interesting. And we provide a pathway for those future works. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question?
Yes, I have a question. Firstly, I found it very interesting, but could you explain more detailed this tenement? I couldn't get it further.
I'm sorry, you want me to explain more detail around the sentiment?
Not detailed, but maybe in other words, this sentiment, this core sentiment, what's it about?
Okay, if I understand your question, you're asking about the sentiment in terms
Yes,
of.
cinnamon, yes. Mhm.
Okay, yeah, the sentiment is about taking data from different sources to figure out how a person or a group of people feel about a topic. So we were looking at sentiment in terms of how people feel about different stocks, and if that could be used to predict the price of those stocks. So sentiment analysis is really just taking data from sources like Twitter, like the websites we use to gather information on Congress stock trading, and see if that textual information could be used to then somehow predict the stock price.
Very interesting. Okay. But I guess you did also text processing, because data you get from Twitter, for example, is talking about, and you should also extract the meaning of the talking. Am I wrong?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
I mean, the data, for example, you get from Twitter about stocks.
Mm-hmm.
This data is communication between people talking about stocks. You should also
Yes.
get the meaning, or did you some another matrix? Did you use count of talking, maybe count of words? For example, Apple, how many times Apple called it? Did you get such a matrix? Because it is also.
Okay. So did we capture things like frequency? I don't think we did, but you make a very good point. And if we were to do this again or follow up on our work, that is something that we would need to consider.
What did you use?
No, I don't think. No, we did not use.
But you said you get data from Twitter.
Right, we did get data from Twitter. But if I understood the question correctly, you were asking about things like frequency.
No, I don't mean.
Maybe I misunderstood it.
Frequency is an example. Actually, I am curious about the fact that which metric, how did you process data from Twitter to put as metric into your model? Because the Twitter is chatting. I mean, the people talking their ideas, but it is textual based. And how did you extract this textual data to get some meaningful results?
As best we could, it was through the tool that I mentioned on the slide, the Vader. That is what we use to analyze and extract the data.
You use an already existing tool to analyze. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Next presentation, dear Aynur Ekmekçi.
Evet,
You can start.
yes. Ekran görünüyor mu?
Evet, geldi, sıkıntı yok.
Hello everyone, my name is Aynur Ekmekçi. My presentation is about geometric analysis of brain pathology using MRI for tumor diagnosis. The risk of acquiring a disorder such as a brain tumor due to concealment therapy increases. Scientists have identified shared risk factors and symptoms by examining vast quantities of data from people diagnosed with brain tumor. The doctor may be able to detect and identify a brain tumor after seeing this image. Brain tumor diagnostics, segmentation, measurements, detection, and classification is a rapidly expanding field. Research in this area employs an algorithm to predict disease risk specifics based on the found tumor location in brain MRI scans and measurements, with a primary emphasis on establishing the tumor's extent and shape. Tumors form when tissue grows unnaturally. Different types of tumors need different methods of treatment because of their distinct properties. Brain tumors are very little because of their nature and the limited area in the skull where they grow. It determines the tumor stage and size with remarkable precision based on its location in the body. Here, fuzzy C-means and thresholding are employed as a combined segmentation strategy for malignancies in the brain. This method allows tumor tissue to be segmented with the same degree of accuracy and consistency as when done by hand. To add credibility to the medical report, we have done a color map of the brain tumor and the surrounding unaffected tissue. A tumor is a mass of tissue that forms as a result of an abnormal cell expansion. The brain is the most important organ since it is the body's master controller and regulator. And malignancies are masses of tissue formed by uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells. Our study deals with time-consuming and automated brain tumor segmentation, measurements, and analysis. Normally, the anatomy of the brain is analyzed by MRI scans. Our system aims to detect the tumor from the given MRI scan and then measure the tumor size from the brain. The method is projected to enhance the present brain tumor screening by reducing the need for follow-up treatments, potentially lower healthcare expense. A summary of recent approach for brain tumor segmentation on MRI and CT images is provided in this table. The size, cell type, and stage of the tumor all have an impact on how well it responds to therapy. As a result, tumor segmentation is critical for surgical and other forms of therapeutic planning. Medical imaging methods may be used to identify and evaluate tumors, choosing the best treatment for a variety of clinical conditions in order to support surgery and schedule radiation. In digital health, medical imaging methods and technology are used to take images of various regions of the human body for diagnostic and therapeutic reasons. MRI is a technology for producing a three-dimensional image of the interior of the body in any plane, including the soft tissues of the brain and spinal cord. It's most often used to demonstrate human anatomy and function. The whole three-dimensional volume of the tumor must be carefully measured, which is accomplished by manually drawing a circle around the tumor's target region. Semi-automatic methods, on the other hand, take less time to segment each tumor because humans have a limited capacity to detect visible qualities in an image. Manual segmentation is more prone to human errors. Accurate segmentation and identification will always be helpful, especially when dealing with a large MRI dataset. As we talked in previous slides, the goal of this work is to create an automated image processing system for properly segmenting and classifying brain tumor and subtumor tissue from multimodal MR data, and time-consuming to minimize complexity and increase the segmentation and measurements performance of tumor size, position, and shape vary. We start by concentrating on noise reduction, color visualization of the brain tumor region, segmentation, size measurement, and classification. In this preliminary research, we compared two object-analyzed datasets, digital imaging and communications in medical dataset 16 is the first of them. The study analyzed 150 photos from the DICOM collection depicting brain malignancies. In addition, T1-weighted MRI and T2-weighted MRI are utilized in the brain web dataset 17, which is the second most commonly used dataset. 15 of the 48 photos in the dataset show brain tumors. 10 patients worth of photos, 6 images total, were selected from data on brain tumor obtained from radiology experts. 75 pictures were chosen from MRI scans and a digital database for screening mammography. For use in the pilot research of brain MRI, since the MRI scan includes varying contrast and segmentation rather than a perfect tomogram. Here are some examples of brain tumor MRI images. MRI scans of brain are taken as the input for all training and testing purposes. The images are grayscale and are resized for processing. It is assumed that all the images given input to the system are either benign or malignant. The images are separated into labeled folders for training and testing purpose only. Segmentation is the first and most important stage in image analysis. Its goal is to extract information from tumor via image segmentation. Morphological operation is to delete unwanted parts of binary image and smooth the boundary of segmented mass. First line is input image, second line is processing stage, last line is our segmentation result. Here in A, we have input image. In B and C, our method, D, multi-cascaded, E, cascaded random force. In G, one-pass multitask, and in H, cascade deep learning model. Conclusion: diagnosing brain tumor is a labor-intensive process that is frequently performed manually by clinicians. When it comes to brain imaging, manual analysis is not only time-consuming, but also increasingly annoying as the state-of-the-art progress. Segmentation and classification techniques are very helpful to medical professionals since they speed up data processing and give a second opinion based on automated results, saving valuable time and effort. Brain tumors are very little because of their nature and the limited area in the skull where they grow. It determines the tumor stage and size with remarkable precision based on its location in the body. Here, fuzzy C-means and thresholding are employed as a combined segmentation strategy of malignancies in the brain. This method allows tumor tissue to be segmented with the same degree of accuracy and consistency when done by hand. To add credibility to the medical report, we have done a color map of the brain tumor and the surrounding unaffected tissue. Thank you for attending.
Thank you for presentation. Next presentation, dear Sonay Duman.
Yes, I am sharing my screen.
You can start.
Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay. Dear attenders, firstly, I would like to say that I am happy to be here, 6th International Symposium on Multidisciplinary Studies and Innovative Technologies. Today, I am going to talk about our conference paper, which titled as Conceptualization of Meta-Servitization, 3D Case Study from Furniture Industry. The outlines of the presentation is firstly, I will talk about metaverse. Then I am going to explain competitive strategies, differentiation, servitization, customer involvement, and meta-servitization. Then I will explain our applications, implementation steps. Then I will finish my presentation. From the words meta and universe. Metaverse is a concept that allows creating virtual communities beyond commerce and entertainment. It's predicted that there is a new generation internet that includes a 3D virtual space where users can interact through their avatars, and it's described as the digital Big Bang in cyberspace. Metaverse integrates various new technologies with it itself. It provides an immersive experience based on augmented reality technology, develops a digital duplicate of the actual world, and securely connects the virtual and real worlds into the economic system. Metaverse social system work with an identity system that allows each user to create content and organize the world. Individuals are not the only ones taking part in this up and coming new universe. Firms are as well. Competitive strategies. Porter has defined 3 generic competitive strategies. These are cost leadership, differentiation, and focus strategy. Manufacturing industry have been compelled to differentiate and innovate because of competitive pressure. Metaverse has changed everything about the competitive strategies because traditional differentiation was about just product oriented, but today's is about service dominant logic because every product offerings include also services inside. So manufacturing industry focus on that. All the products are similar, production processes are similar. So how do they differentiate the products? Servitization with metaverse can be the solution of differentiation.
Sorry,
So-
are you aware that you not continue with slides? We are on the first page now.
Sorry, because I think when I run the presentation, it will seem like this. Now, can you see that?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to present like this. Servitization is the unique synergy formed by all. The formulation of it goods, services, support, knowledge, and self-service. This component is known as servitization. So the examples about metaverse applications. First, we see the Adidas has implemented AR to allow customers virtually try on shoes. Also, IKEA has been integrating it for years to allow users visualize furnitures in their home range. Nike also has announced that its own branded virtual world.
Hesap alabilir miyim?
I couldn't understand.
Sorry, this is noise. Really
Okay.
sorry about
Ro-
disturbance.
I couldn't hear. Can you repeat, please?
I said sorry for interrupt. It was noise.
Okay. Roblox users may hang out with others in Nightland and play games and with their own experiences with interactive support materials. Another example is SYTK also launched its first clothing store in the metaverse. You can make shopping like you are feeling in Hawaii, and you can try on some dress. Customer involvement, digitalization has facilitated mass customization and servitization while boosting customer autonomy over decision making. In practice, many levels of customer involvement are required for mass customization. This includes before, during, and after production. Why customer involvement is important? Because in literature we can see that IKEA effect. Consumers give more importance to products which they have contribution. So here, as a result, do-it-yourself became a significant marketing strategy and also servitization strategy. Meta-servitization, by introducing the concept of meta-servitization, this study aimed to present new perspective to the concept of servitization in the metaverse, which is a new marketing universe. With its component, meta-servitization will provide manufacturers with a deeper and more comprehensive differentiation opportunity to gain sustainable competitive position in the marketplace, while providing customers with a higher service quality with do-it-yourself approach. It also depends the level of customer involvement in the pre-sales and post-sales processes of the product. The meta-servitization model of products is shown in this figure. As you can see, as blue area was the traditional servitization part. When you combine them with Industry 4 and Metaverse, we can create this pink area as an automatic meta servitization. So we introduce and demonstrate a framework for positioning services following a sustainable influx of technology using the furniture industry as a case study, drawing on literature from marketing competitive strategies, organizational management, and technology innovations. In this study, we developed an Android application designed as a case study, can be used by furniture customers, either with VR glasses or without using any hardware. The designed application is based on the 3D animation display of the assembly stage after reading the barcode of the product they purchased, so that customer can easily install furniture during the after-sales service phase. So the application is designed with a user-friendly interface suitable for Android 5+ devices. Also, you can see the block diagram of the application. In the designed application, the welcome screen first welcomes the user as a splash screen. Then the barcode scanner page is shown to user to scan the barcode of the product. Afterwards, the information about the product appears on the screen as a list, and the user can select the 3D animation or 3D assembly image of this product. The user graphical interface of the application are shown in next slide. The application can work on Android devices without requiring any hardware, as well as offering a more realistic experience to users with an Android phone mounted on VR glasses. You can see the graphical user interface of the application. As a conclusion, this research aims to present a new perspective to the concept of servitization in the metaverse and conceptualize the meta servitization model. It's predicted that meta servitization will enable to improve service quality by providing both human contact and technology to customers at the same time. As we know, after COVID-19, we start to make solo shopping, and people prefer to no interaction with support staff. So meta servitization, as well as providing companies with a unique competitive advantage, it also helps customers to get support without face-to-face interaction. Finally, one of the main contributions of this study is presentation of a multidisciplinary approach to contribute to sustainable competitive position and customer interactions through a 3D case study from the furniture industry. With the help of meta servitization elements, the customers will be able to detect malfunctions that occur during use with the help of avatars. These are our references. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation.
You are welcome, Doctor.
Next presentation, Dear Çakıroğlu.
Merhabalar.
Merhabalar. Hazırsanız başlayabiliriz.
Tabii ki. Ekranım görünüyor mu?
Görünüyor.
Ekranım görünüyor mu acaba?
Evet, görünüyor.
Hocam ekranımı görebiliyor musunuz?
Abdullah hocam ekranı görüyoruz.
Geliyor,
Abdullah ekranı
sesim
görüyoruz.
gelmedi sanırım.
Ha, evet sesiniz gelmedi de.
Hı.
Başlıyorum.
Görüyoruz.
Merhabalar.
Bir gürültü var yalnız. Bir de gürültü var arkamda galiba.
Merhabalar. İlk olarak kendimi tanıtayım. Ben Abdullah Çakıroğlu, Bursa Teknik Üniversitesi Elektrik Elektronik Mühendisliği Anabilim Dalı doktor öğrencisiyim. Doçent Doktor Gökay Bayrak ve Beyçelik Gestam firması Ar-Ge ekibiyle gerçekleştirdiğimiz projeden bahsedeceğim bugün sizlere. Öncelikle Sayın Gökay Bayrak ve Beyçelik firması Ar-Ge ekibine proje sürecindeki tüm desteklerinden ötürü teşekkür ediyorum. Çalışmamızın başlığı otomotiv üretim hatlarındaki 3 boyutlu parçaların kalite kontrolü için Endüstri 4.0 ile uyumlu yapay görme sisteminin geliştirilmesidir. Sunum içeriğinden ilk olarak kısaca giriş yapacağım. İlk olarak konuyla alakalı bir giriş yapacağım. Ardından görüntü işleme teknolojisine değindikten sonra tespit edilen problemlerden bahsedeceğim. Materyal ve metot kısmında yaptığımız çalışmanın detaylarını kısaca anlattıktan sonra da elde edilen sonuçları ve proje çıktılarını göstererek sunumu tamamlamayı planlıyorum. Görüntü işleme teknolojisi hemen hemen tüm sektörlerde kullanımı giderek artan ve günümüzde de gelişmeye devam eden bir teknolojidir. İnsan iş gücünü azaltması, hata oranının düşük olması ve kullanıldığı alanda işlem süresini hızlandırması görüntü işleme teknolojisinin en önemli avantajlarıdır. Bu çalışmada üretim sonrası parçaların hata tespitinin gerçekleştirilebildiği, çeşitli metrik ölçümlerin yapılabildiği, mevcut yöntemlere kıyasla kontrol hassasiyeti yüksek, işlem süresi düşük, Endüstri 4.0 uyumlu bir görüntü işleme tabanlı kalite kontrol sistemi tasarlanmıştır. Görüntü alma kabini ekranda görülmektedir. Görüntü üzerinde piksel tabanlı ölçümler ve morfolojik işlemler yapılarak parçalar için uygun yazılım altyapısı oluşturulmuştur. Örnek test parçaları slaytta görülmektedir. Görüntü işleme teknolojileri birçok alanda farklı uygulamalarla karşımıza çıkmakta. Görüntü işleme, görüntüyü dijital form haline getirmek ve bazı işlemleri gerçekleştirmek için geliştirilmiş, spesifik görüntü elde etmek veya ondan bazı yararlı bilgiler çıkarmak için kullanılan bir yöntemdir. Görüntüler dijital ortamda sayısal piksel değerlerinden oluşmaktadır. En temelde görüntüdeki piksel değerleri ile işlemler yapılarak görüntü işleme uygulamaları ve morfolojik işlemler gerçekleştirilir. Farklı amaçlara uygun derin öğrenme uygulamaları, nesne tanıma, görüntü iyileştirme, hata tespiti gibi birçok sayıda uygulama örneği günümüzde mevcuttur ve artarak gelişmektedir. Birçok sektörde olduğu gibi otomotiv, yan sanayi ve metal sektöründe de görüntü işleme teknolojilerine ihtiyaç duyulmaktadır. Bu ihtiyaç kalıp tasarım ve imalatı, saç şekillendirme ve lazer kesim süreçleri sonrasında ihtiyaç duyulan kalite kontrol işlemlerinin yüksek hassasiyetle gerçekleştirilme gerekliliğinden doğmaktadır. Otomotiv yan sanayi metal sektöründe üretim sonrası kalite kontrol işlemi genel olarak insan iş gücüyle gerekli ölçüm tesisatları kullanılarak gerçekleştirilmektedir. Bu kontrol yöntemi bireyden kaynaklı ölçüm hatasına, insan iş gücü maliyetinin oluşmasına ve zaman kaybına sebebiyet vermekte. Ayrıca uygulama aşamasında en önemli problemlerden biri de sistem maliyetleridir. Görüntü işleme sistemleri sektörde ciddi maliyetlerle kurulmakta. Bunun nedeni ise kamera sistemlerinin bu maliyetin büyük kısmını oluşturmasıdır. Kalite kontrol sürecinin daha hızlı gerçekleştirilmesi ve bununla beraber daha yüksek hassasiyetli ölçüm ve kontrol sağlanmasının amaçlanması, maliyeti düşük seviyelerde tutabilmek, görüntü işleme teknolojilerine olan ihtiyacı göstermektedir. Geliştirdiğimiz sistemi açıklayacak olursam, sistem 3 ana birimden oluşmakta. Bunlar görüntü alma sistemi, görüntü işleme yazılımı ve kontrol arayüzüdür. Görüntü alma sistemi 2 adet yüksek çözünürlüklü kamera, 4 bölgeli aydınlatma sistemi ve görüntü alma kabininden oluşmaktadır. Kullanılan kameralar standart 4K çözünürlüklü kameralardır ve maliyetleri görüntü işleme amaçlı kullanılan diğer kameralara kıyasla oldukça uygundur. Geliştirilen sistemde kontrol arayüzü vasıtasıyla kabin içi tüm kontroller sağlanmaktadır. Sistemde kullanılan ana kontrol birimi grafiksel altyapısı ve işlemci hızı yüksek bir bilgisayardır. Görüntü alma kabini içerisinde konumlandırılmış kameralardan alınan ham görüntüler seri haberleşme ile ana kontrol birimine iletilmektedir. Görüntü işleme yazılımı Vision Builder yazılım ortamında geliştirilmiştir. Kontrol arayüzü ise LabVIEW yazılım ortamında geliştirilmiştir. Ve görüntü işleme yazılımı kontrol arayüzüne entegre edilerek paket bir program oluşturulmuştur. Ölçme ve izleme odaklı olarak geliştirilen LabVIEW bir yazılım üretme platformu olarak diğer yapısal ve nesne tabanlı programlama dillerinin hemen hemen tüm yeteneklerini içeren bir görsel programlama dilidir. Aynı zamanda yine NI firmasının geliştirdiği Vision Builder platformu da LabVIEW ile entegre olarak çalışabilen piksel ve morfolojik işlemler tabanlı bir görüntü işleme programıdır. LabVIEW ve Vision Builder programlarının görüntü işlemedeki kullanımından ve mevcut problemlerle alakalı literatürdeki görüntü işleme uygulamalarından bazı örnekler vermek istiyorum. Vision Builder ile yapılan bir çalışmada ölçüm hassasiyetinin gelişmiş olduğu ve ölçüm hızının farklı uygulamalara kıyasla artırıldığı gösterilmiştir. MG ve arkadaşlarının LabVIEW ortamında geliştirilen farklı bir uygulamada da sistemin kalite kontrol sürecinde insan iş gücünden daha hızlı olduğu ve daha düşük hata oranı ürettiği gösterilmiştir. Sustek ve arkadaşlarının Vision Builder ile gerçekleştirmiş olduğu çalışmada ise metrik 6'dan metrik 12'ye kadar somun ve rondelaların sınıflandırılması ve kalite kontrolü sağlanmıştır. Bir başka örnek çalışmada ise araba koltuğu çerçevesindeki delikleri, somunları ve kaynak noktalarını gerçek zamanlı olarak tespit eden ve bu bölümlerin sağlam ve doğru yerde olması amacıyla kalite ölçümleri yapmak üzere tasarlanmış bir uygulama sunmaktadır. Literatürdeki çalışmalar incelendiğinde LabVIEW ve Vision Builder yazılım platformlarının görüntü işleme uygulamalarında önemli derecede katkı sağladığı görülmektedir. Tasarladığımız sistemden bahsetmek gerekirse, sistemde kabin içerisinde görüntüler alındıktan sonra tüm kontroller PC vasıtasıyla gerçekleştirilmektedir. Aynı zamanda otomasyon sisteminde kabin içerisindeki parçanın dairesel hareketi step motor ile sağlanmaktadır. Dairesel hareketin amacı ise parçanın farklı kamera görüş açılarına girebilmesidir. Yazılım, kameraların ham görüntüyü ana kontrol birimine iletmesiyle çalışmakta. Gelen ham görüntü ilk olarak morfolojik işlemlerden geçerek renk uzayı RGB'den HSL'ye dönüştürülür. Program piksel tabanlı ölçüm yapmaktadır. Gerçek ölçüm birimlerine dönüşüm için kalibrasyon işlemleri yapılmalıdır. Parçalar için tüm ölçüm parametreleri uygun tolerans aralıklarına göre girilmiştir. Test edilen tüm parçalar ise Beyçelik Gestab Otomotiv firması tarafından sağlanmıştır. Test edilen tüm parçalar için kontrol parametreleri farklıdır. Bunlar çap ölçümü, uzunluk ölçümü, hasar kontrolü, açı ölçümü ve kenar hattı doğrusallığı olmak üzere çeşitlilik göstermektedir. Şekilde örnek bir test parçasının kontrol sonuçlarını görebilirsiniz. Ekranın sağ tarafında görülen test parçasının orta açıklık uzunluğu referans aralığında olmadığı için parça durumu canlı kamera görüntüsü üzerinden ATOKİ olarak tespit edilmiştir. Kullanıcı arayüzü kullanıcıya sistemi basit olarak kullanabilme ve tüm kontrollere erişme imkanı sunmakta. Bu arayüz ekranı sayesinde ışıklandırma kontrolleri, sensör verilerinin takibi, hareketli tablanın dönüş kontrolü, parça seçimi ve görüntü işleme yazılımına erişim gibi kontroller sağlanmaktadır. Görüntü alma kabini hazır hale getirildikten ve kontrol parametreleri ayarlandıktan sonra görüntü işleme yazılımı başlatılmaktadır. Şekilde görüntü işleme yazılımı arayüzü ve 2 numaralı test parçasının okey not okey durumları için sonuçları görülmekte. Ölçümü yapılan açı değeri referans değer aralığı içerisinde ise parça durumu okey olarak tespit edilir ve arayüz aracılığıyla kullanıcıya gösterilir. Yapılan çalışma neticesinde yazılım ile örnek test parçaları için elde edilen ölçüm ve kontrol sonuçlarının ve ölçüm aletleriyle ve gözle kontrol sonuçlarının karşılaştırmalı tablosu verilmiştir. Tablodan da görüleceği üzere sonuçlar karşılaştırıldığında yazılım ölçüm sonuçları gerçek ölçüm sonuçlarına yakın değerde çıktılar vermiştir. Ortalama ölçüm hassasiyeti %0.04'ten düşük hata oranında gerçekleşmiştir. Ortalama doğruluk oranı ise %99.98 olarak hesaplanmıştır. Bu sonuçlar neticesinde görüntü işleme teknolojisinin kalite kontrol sistemlerinde kullanımının gayet başarılı sonuçlar verdiği kanıtlanmıştır. Referans çalışmalar görüldüğü üzere. Dinleyip zaman ayırdığınız için teşekkür ederim. Sorularınız varsa alabilirim.
Onun için teşekkürler.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
Okay. Next presentation, dear Anwar Dia Awad.
Hello, sir. I'm here.
Yeah, no problem. You can start.
Yes, I will share my presentation. Thank you. My name is Anwar Dia Awad Al-Muhammadi from Altun Bash University. I will present my paper, Hand Gesture Recognition for Interactive Media Player Using Convolution Neural Network and Image Classification. I get help from my co-author, Assistant Prof. Hakan Koyoncu. So I will start. Thank you. In this paper, the problem of gesture recognition is addressed with a focus on the recognition of handships due the number of parameters to be considered: joint angles, hand position, three-dimensional orientation, as well as muscle and skin deformation. Even the isolated problem of handships recognition become very complicated for a solution using convolution deterministic algorithm. Machine learning methods. In this paper, we evaluated the 26 signs of the sign language, but the result can be then extended to any gesture or movement performed with only one hand. Certainly, even these gestures can be recognized precisely. The use of gesture in communication between individuals is a form of communication widely used any culture globally. Even then, this type of communication not expressly direct as in the case of sign language, because it's a way to transmit information so natural human with the increase the interactive of device and the search of interfaces for human computer interaction. Gesture have been increased explored to cover this need. This is some like I would work some gestures. The problem statement: the key problem is how to make computer to able to understand the hand gestures. Hand gestures vary orientation of fingers and shape of the hand. So non-linearity is one of the characteristics of hand gestures that has to be delayed. It can be done using a metadata and contain information carried by image. We know machine learning is a method of data analysis that automates analytical model building is a branch of artificial intelligence, AI. Machine learning, it has three partitions: unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and performance learning. We use supervised learning and we take the classification. We use deep neural network. Deep neural networks are groups of neurons connected together that form a nervous system such as the human brain. Artificial neural network, abstraction of biological model that allow neurons to be represent assembled computation units. Deep neural networks have recently become standard tool for solving a binary computer vision problem, whereas training neural network is outside the scope. Importing network and training inference on its important part, the DNN functionally. I'm sorry for bad internet. Do you hear me, sir? We have here two shapes of artificial neural network and deep neural network. As we see, deep neural network have many nodes. Otherwise, artificial neural network just one node. First step, creating our data set. The first step of our approach was to collect of an image data set. As this work intended, use libars as a practical field image from different libars signs. We use compound. Second step, the hand segmentation approach developed present high accuracy rate manually of image from the data set accuracy with a camera. Third step, the recognition of the input gesture was performed in two stages. The first stage, one corresponds to general classification, performed by neural network training with image from the signs. The rule this work to recognize the group with input image belong to direct the recognition process. This is the parameter for algorithm, and here we see how neural network work. We use convolution neural network, we take the pixel and making loop and overlooping for the pixel. The input layer, with respect the number of neurons compressing this layer, this parameter completely and unique determines once you know the shape. The shape. Do you hear me? Sorry. Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, no problem.
Now we see the hidden layer in the neural network. How many hidden layers we need? Well, if your data is nearly suitable, which is often known by the time we began coding NN, then you don't need any hidden layers at all. Of course, you don't need a neural network to resolve your data either, but will still do the job. In the sum, for most problems, one could probably get decent performance even without second optimized step by setting the hidden layer configuration using just two rules. I number of hidden layer equals 1 and double I the number of neurons we see in this equation. This is the example, kernel convolution. And this is the algorithm, Ni number of input neurons, No number of output neurons, Ns number of symbol in training data sets, an ability scaling factor using 2 to 10. We see in this the accuracy. Accuracy is one metric of evolution classification models, information accuracy. In this function, our model got right formally. We use this function. Accuracy equal number of correct produce up to total number of produce. Result. The result of present in this work determines the effectiveness of the method, improving the accuracy of the convolutional neural network at each iteration of the proposed algorithm, with bottom accuracy of 62, top to 94, began achieve the best training set for general deterministic between classes. The convolution relation between them is also available in table below, where classes among those classes are showing together with percents. This is the table, and we have here compare between other lecture review. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you for presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any question? Okay, thanks again. Next presentation, dear Muhammad. Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah, Muhammad Hassan. This is Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah,
Hi.
you can start.
Can I share first, please?
You can share.
It's okay now, clear?
Yeah, no problem.
Bismillah. Okay, good afternoon to all. Greetings. This is Muhammad Hassan Hajali from UTM University. I will be presenting my paper today, which is a review of user experience models in the context of e-learning settings. First of all, we'll go through the content of the presentation. We will have the introduction, research method, related literature, results, discussion, and lastly, the conclusion. First of all, we go through the introduction. Since we have the spread of COVID-19 virus That's creates considerable concerns and change for everyone. So in order to combat the COVID-19 infections, mostly the governments have implemented many restrictions, including physical separation and even lockdown in selected locations. So e-learning comes to be the best solution for such circumstances. So e-learning creates a setting for education in which students have access to curriculum at any time from any locations, eliminating these two traditional barriers to education. So e-learning, the definition actually for the e-learning is an approach to teaching learning representing all or part of the educational model applied. That is based on the use of electronic media and devices as tools for improving access to training, communications, interaction, and facilitates the adoption of new ways of understanding, developing learning. So the success of the e-learning depends on the user experience, what is the user experience? So we can define user experience as a person's perceptions and responses resulting from the use and or anticipate use of a product, system, or service. So the research problem or the problem statement we have here that various studies have examined certain aspects in e-learning settings. For example, research on elements inflation or adoption of e-learning has been undertaken by several researchers. Meanwhile, other researchers have attempted to examine the level of satisfaction that users have within e-learning systems. Even there are a large number of studies that have been carried out to evaluate e-learning, the vast majority of them have focused on elements linked to usability, which is a part of user experience. Review of the literature related to user experience models that users have is one alternative method for evaluating the effectiveness of e-learning. However, there have been relatively limited number of methodologies evaluating user experience and taking into account particulars of assessing e-learning. In addition to that, the researchers has started utilizing generic methods in order to measure the efficiency of such system. As a consequences of this, there are very few indicators as to whether or not these models are adequate for the purpose of accumulating user experience with e-learning. The method we have implemented in this paper or research is a narrative analysis. A narrative analysis primary goal, in addition to offering an in-depth examination of previously published material, is to participate in ongoing general discussion about subject. So we have determined the keywords such as learning experience, e-learning, online learning, user experience model, and we have used the appropriate booleans such as or and then determine a database, which is Google Scholar, and then exclude the unrelated articles. So only peer-reviewed English language papers from 2017-2020 were considered. So the related literature, we have the first round, we have obtained 563 records. Then the second unlinkable articles were those that did not related to user experience of e-learning in the educational settings, and more through screening process that look into account persist inclusion and exclusion criteria. Several publications were discovered to be connected to the use of e-learning in education. So the fourth step, we have listed the papers that were considered for the inclusion of this study, and lastly, summarizing the related articles. So we have here a table and two examples of some literature found. Maybe 2019 have an objective to examine the elements that impact user experience in two Tanzanian universities. And the method have been used by this paper, which is questionnaire and group discussion with standards with students in university. And the model have been used as Nielsen, heuristics, and Didak's metrics. And the components have been used as motivation to learn, accessibility, feedback, assessment, collaboration, learning, instructional materials. And the other one, which is Hassan 2021, and had the objective to explore models user experience at Malaysian University through students' viewpoint. And he have used the questionnaire and semi-structured interview. And also he has used the model of user experience categories and subcategories were adapted from Metab and Keswick in 2019. And the components was attention to use, cognitive, emotional, teaching, and learning. Here we have the results. First of all, there are many studies have proposed various models and dimensions to assess user experience, and the list has continued to grow. And a questionnaire-based and Nelson and heuristic was widely used, and e-learning system have had UX concern relating to instructor abilities and usage, but not within the system's user experience. And one paper have employed UEQ, so many paper actually, but I have mentioned one here, have employed UEQ, evaluate e-learning. The UEQ model includes attractiveness, perspective, efficacy, dependability, stimulation, and novelty. And the discussion, the review makes it very evident that a significant number of articles that were put forward for consideration are geared toward academic applications of e-learning. And the majority of the focus of e-learning on the importance of topic knowledge, the management of the courses, and dissemination of content knowledge. And the literature indicated that most of the studies in this paper focus on user experience in higher education settings, and less attention have been made to the schools and the students other than universities. And the review have revealed that the UEQ is the most common model used in past study in the context of the current study. As the UEQ makes it possible to conduct an interactive user experience evaluation in a short amount of time. It also encourages various researchers to utilize as a data collection tool. The conclusion we have that the shift from technology-centered to user-centered design has encouraged developers to consider user learning experience as the most important factor. Also, the study makes a significant contribution to the existing body of information on e-learning by putting an emphasis on the user learning experience issues and obstacles related with the utilization of e-learning. Lastly, the study of e-learning experience will not only help e-learning designer to create educational platforms that are more effective in the future, but will also make the work of the e-learning designer easier when it comes to analyzing their own e-learning platform using the appropriate framework. These are the references, and this is the end of our presentation. Thanks to all. If there is any question.
Thank you for presentation. Is there a question? Okay. Next presentation, dear Ivan Ralev. Dear Ralev?
Yes. I can't share my screen.
Okay, you can start.
Hello, everybody. Dear professors, colleagues, and guests, my name is Ivan Ralev. I'm a PhD student at the University of Russia. Today, I'm going to present our paper co-authoring with Professor Georg Krstev, the following topics is application of OpenCV in serious games. With the development of computer technologies, the need for a new type of communication between the user and the computer is created, especially when every person carries a camera, computer, music player, e-book in his pocket with his smartphone. Game consoles have been using gesture control detection by a camera or some hardware device for a long time. A manufacturer like Nintendo offers realistic games comparable to the real thing. For example, it can be a game of tennis with the help of a special joystick. The movement of the player's hands in space are considered. The main problem for the user is the relatively high amount he has to invest in the purchase of some equipment. Another relatively cheaper option that can be implemented by a programmer in them small games is to use a presenter with a mouse control. The programmer needs to retrieve the mouse coordinates and use them to control them application. The OpenCV software package offers a rich set of modules through which image, text, sound, and so on processing can be performed. For the purpose of this project, the image analysis and processing capability will be considered. For illustration, a simple game was created using the Java programming language. The game is a cube that drops from the top of the screen. At the left picture of the slide, we can see the game interface. The descent trajectory has different coordinates chosen randomly. The player using a stick or a black glove managing the control. And the goal is to collect these cubes. A web camera is used which records every movement of the player's stick or glove is to collect these cubes. Every single frame of the recorded video is processed. The right picture of this slide presents the steps through which the analysis of the image passes through the ability to operate a given control. The first step, and perhaps the most important, is to take a picture of the scene we want to process and analyze it for presence of desired object. For each individual frame, it is necessary to convert its color scheme from blue, green, red, in which the image has captured, to gray. In practice, we have a new image. Those pixels are made up of gradation of gray color. The purpose of this conversation is to be able to use the threshold method that works with image with this color scheme. Next, isolate only the object with the black color from the image. The functionality of the hue saturation value color scheme is used, isolating only black. The resulting new images is made up of two colors, white and black. Since the threshold processing uses the trace binary in method, the black color is represented by white pixels and the other by black. White and black pixels are of equal intensity. The next step is to find all contours. A contour is a closed figure made up of pixels of the same color. In this particular case, they are white. In the general case, a plurality of contours of different size will be formed, necessitating the need to find the contour with the largest size relative to the others. The find contours method was used, finding all the contours in the image. Any by means of a for loop, all founded contours are traversed, comparing each one with the next one, and if it is greater, it is assigned to the special max value variable. After finding the biggest contour, the assumption is made that this is the stick or black glove that user uses to control. It is necessary to calculate the center of gravity of this figure. This slide shows the result obtained using a stick and a graph. When the coordinates of the figure's center of gravity point are known, they can be used to control a game element. The values obtained for the point are of type double, and in order to set the coordinates of an element on the frame of the game screen, they must be converted to an integer value, which distorts the obtained results. After test, it was found that this division does not significantly affect the program's performance. This slide shows the future development. At this moment, the game has one level. We plan to realize more level. The condition for moving to the next level is to collect 50 points. Collecting the cube earns 1 point, and losing 1 subtract 1. In the second level, an increase in the speed of which the cube moves are 14, which will lead to the need for faster reaction of the user. In the third level, the number of cubes will increase. 1, 2, 3, or 4 cubes will fall at different speeds and directions, avoiding the possibility of Echo reaching the end of 2 or more cubes at the same time. In the fourth level, the game will move in the genre of serious game. The player has to collect a certain number of cubes, and then will be asked a geographical question. The questions are: what is the capital of country, or city is the capital of which country? Questions are stored in a list structure and are generated randomly, avoiding the possibility of repeating a question. When generated, it will be written to the screen and will be spoken by the program. The player's response will be recorded using speech recognition. Processing of the recorded response aimed at removing the interjections used is forcing. For example, if the question is what is the capital of Bulgaria, and the player answers, "Oh, Sofia," the speech recognition will consider the entire expression, and the answer will not be recognized as correct. Interjections like well, who, maybe, well, oh, will be removed from the answer. If there are other sounds recorded so as not to harm the player, it will be checked whether the correct answer is contained in the one given by the player, and if there is a match, he will be awarded a point. One point is awarded for a correct answer, but 3 points are deducted if it is wrong. In the 5th level, the question will be historical. The last level of the game will be a combination of the previous two, during which the player will have to collect cubes while asking a question and giving an answer. OpenCV offers a rich set of capabilities that allow a programmer to use a simple webcam to record a user gestures, which after processing can be used to control different software. There are certain requirements for the background, the lighting of the room, and the distance from which the gesture must be performed or the controlling object must be located. An advantage is the fact that it is not necessary to purchase a specialized camera or other type of hardware. Thanks for attention.
Thank you for presentation. Is there any question? Okay. All presentation are completed in this session. See you in the next session.